All right, everybody. Thank you so much for another episode, joining us for another episode. Today, I have a very special guest, Dr. Millie. Millie, thank you so much for being on. This is really awesome. And I'm not even going to give any background, even though you and I were on the boot camp together. So far, a few people I've had on this podcast so far, I was on a speaker boot camp with. And it just shows you how incredible it is to go on these kind of things because I have met amazing people like Dr. Millie. So, can you just give us a little bit of your story, your background for everybody that doesn't know it?
Sure. Thanks for having me on, Max.
Of course.
I'm a licensed naturopathic doctor and I'm the body knows speaker. I'm currently not in practice, but I develop programs and I work for organizations, consulting for them as well as individuals, how to re-energize, remotivate, but looking at the body in order to figure out what's going on. So that's me in a nutshell at the present.
That's fantastic. What, just out of curiosity, what got you into naturopathic medicine?
I I grew up in a family that was quite like healthy minded. So I grew up with we had a garden, it was organic, we had a compost, and this was back in the 80s when nobody else had compost around and it was my job to be up close and personal with the compost and empty it and till it and just I don't know I think I really had an appreciation for being outdoors and natural food and my parents used to make bread, this really heavy protein bread, and I used to bring it to
Oh
school and
yeah.
we'd eat from the health food store in town and I just had a real pride about all of that. So when I got sick around the age of 20, I I got sick with a condition called cervical dysplasia, which my aunt had died from when I was 10.
Oh,
And I didn't like the conventional recommendations, so to speak. And at the time, I was in university studying in Toronto, and I was working at a juice bar and there were some naturopathic doctors in the back who there was a clinic there. And they said, there's a protocol for that. It's vitamins. You have to take a lot of vitamins and do herbal suppositories. And at the time, there was no connection between cervical cancer and the HPV virus. And so, but in the naturopathic community, it was already there that this was a viral condition, that we could kill the virus, heal the cells naturally. And so when that process worked, and I had I was healthy again as opposed to having to go down the route of hysterectomy. I think I was pretty much sold. I dropped out of grad school and it just so happened that I had had all the prerequisites to go to naturopathic college because I had started in pre-med. And so I did that initially. So things kind of aligned and I went right away.
that is awesome. Just because I grew up in a very healthy household as well. My dad was a New York bodybuilder, not kind of competitively. He literally did it just so that nobody would fight him. He was from Yonkers. So a lot of fitness in the house, and my mom was a California babe. So very, very much she grew up with a healthy mindset. So we had juice drinks and stuff growing up, which is awesome to hear you say. But to me, it was just like, oh, this is healthy. But to hear a doctor say, yeah, oh no, these kind of things can literally be life changing if you do them right. That is
Absolutely.
really special. That makes you look back on my past, like, oh man, this is great. I love it. Okay, so sorry, the three questions. Now, what is your personal key to success?
It's changed over time. When I was younger, I really was not focused on kind of worldly success or materialism. I was focused on, mind you, I was curious about compound interest. So I did start that pretty early. I can't say I invested early consistently always, but I definitely invested early and with compounding interest in mind. And so I had a brain for that. But otherwise, early on, success was really adventure and helping people and sharing naturopathic medicine. I'd come from the holistic side of things. And at the time when I graduated, this is over 20 years ago, health food was not the situation that it is now. There was no word for wellness exactly. It was not an industry. You couldn't just walk into a store and get gluten-free bread. Nobody knew what gluten was. And so I was just I was proud to be part of the activist mentality that was sharing this message and helping people with conditions that was a little off the beaten path and providing help in ways that I believed people could get help through nutrition and natural methods, as I had been helped personally. So I had seen it firsthand.
Do you mind expounding a little bit? You said you said adventure as a part of that
Yes.
formula.
Yes.
Do you mind expounding on that? That is a very interesting angle, which I was not expecting to hear. Do you mind expounding on that a little bit?
Sure. So I think when I always had it in my mind the word practice. This is practice. This is practice. And so anytime I would want to do something, I would say yes. So I am an unconventional doctor, not just because I'm a naturopathic doctor, but also because I'm a free spirit and I'm not exactly the type that would stay in a clinic for 20 and or 40 years. So I always say I'm not really a good doctor in that way because I'm not the personality to that you can bring yourself and then your children and then your grandchildren to because doctors are usually stable and I'm
Yeah.
more of a free spirit. I like to travel. I like to do new clinics. I like to try out new specialties. I like to learn more. I like to, so I mean, I've lived in 3 countries. While I've been a professional, I've moved I don't know how many times. I've diversified in my field several times and reinvented myself and that's what inspires me. I'm actually inspired by change. I came to learn a lot later that a lot of people don't like change and they fear change and they fear
Right.
instability. And maybe it was because I grew up in a bit of a chaotic household, as you know, as wonderful as my parents were with health food. It was also, there was some mental illness in my house, and so I kind of you grow up expecting chaos. And so when you're a child like that, then change for me felt exciting and normal and natural. And adventure would be, I guess, the key word for that.
That's amazing. Uh, do you mind if I ask about uh the mental illness you mentioned? Is that something that you realized and within your household later on in life and
Oh, yeah, I
yeah,
realized it early. It
nice.
was
Okay.
present, or from a young age, my father was mentally ill, and I kind of became the role of the mother hen. So I had this kind of nurturing, but also clown role in my family, where I was trying to motivate my dad to be. He was a musician, a classical composer, and I was always trying to motivate him to try harder, do more, work more with music and not give up. And he was kind of a chronically stay-at-home dad and very intelligent, always reading, but also undiagnosed with PTSD, which would be called now certainly PTSD, and was misdiagnosed and was given medications that didn't suit him. And so sometimes the medications would be worse than the mental illness that he kind of had naturally, if you will. And so that's why when I started, he really impacted me. I mean, it really impacted me growing up in that kind of household and having that kind of temperament. And so by the time I got to college, I set out started studying psychology, and that's why I did pre-med and psychology. But when I was doing psychology in undergrad, it wasn't for me because it was too clinical, and I actually didn't really believe I didn't want to do all the things that as a psychologist, I couldn't see myself really fitting into that space. So then I turned it over to sociology and women's studies because it was the 90s and feminist theory was everywhere. And I decided that I was definitely a feminist and that although I love men, I would study that instead. So,
It's so
um,
interesting your point of um how you can clearly see that your household was there's a lot of art in it, is your father was a musician.
Mhm.
And from what you're saying with adventure and everything, you've been able to merge these two mentalities that I think a lot of people have a hard time seeing can be merged, which is being an artist and being a professional. And you made that. You chose to become a naturopathic doctor, which is something that in your own life and clearly from your story and everything, you have been able to see, okay, I have a mind and I come from a household that is a mind for um, that which is, you can say that which is beautiful if you want to look at art that way and look at life and growth and health and say, okay, I will use this within my studies and merge those two. And I think that's something very inspiring for people to see that you took a situation that could be, detrimental long term, but you were able to use it as a catalyst for growth and even making something out of it that's in a way it's an art form. That's really special. I really respect that from your story. I love that.
Well, thank you so much for presenting it to me that way. That's very nice to hear and
No,
receive.
please.
And and naturopathic medicine is an art and a science. So I've always believed that, and I do believe that about the modality of naturopathic medicine, and I do believe that for myself as well. I do consider myself a performance artist as a speaker. And part of the
Nice.
reason why I also learned hypnotherapy, uh, not that I've done a lot of it for performance, but by including it on stage, even though it's in a therapeutic sense, it is performance as well as therapy. So, yeah, thank you so much
Oh,
for
of course. It's
that.
great. You're even proving more that you can uh, be a professional artist beyond painting music. You are clearly a professional. That cannot be denied. And yet everything you're saying is presented in a way that it's just looking at it. It's looking at uh, that which is beautiful in a different angle. So no, again, I really appreciate that because a lot of people I think it's really easy to miss that mark. So that's
Yeah.
that's excellent.
When
Um,
well, to seal your point even more, so when I started practicing naturopathic medicine, I was, dating an artist and living amongst artists in this area of Toronto called Kensington Market. And I really felt at the time that they were my patient base. They were my peers and they were my patient base. And I started writing poems, and my newsletter was like riddles that I would send out to try to help them to see that they could, help their hangovers naturally and like that they could kind of be artists or partying lifestyle naturally. And I am too, although I'm a little bit of a soft partier, but that they could be partying and healthy. And so this was kind of like my foray into my profession as far as like my own peer group, as far as that went. So
that's even better. Like you said, that solidifies it even more. I love that peers and the patient group. I love it. The what would you say from your past up till now? What is your relationship with failure?
I mean, I feel failure. I feel failure briefly. Um,
Okay.
I don't, however, I don't feel an incredible amount of success either. Like, I think I feel success also, not that I feel a lack of success, but I didn't really feel success until I bought a house. And what buying a house brought me was domestic peace. And so this also, if you're evaluating me or analyzing me psychologically, then once I finally realized how much security I needed at home and that I could provide that for myself, I bought a house. I love it. I visualized my house and kind of manifested the house that I was going to buy. And it involved like a big move from New York to Florida in order to move into this house. And right away, I got a stable relationship. I got my dream dog that I also manifested. And so all of a sudden I had this like quiet domestic life. But like for 20 years before that, I never thought of what success was, and I never thought of failure. I certainly don't get stuck on failure. So if I fail at something, I feel the sadness or the frustration or the pain, and then I pivot. I mean, that's all I do. I could never hurt myself in the way to get stuck on any kind of like negative notion of failure. Because I think that I would be wounded, or I could be wounded if I got stuck on that, and I wouldn't be willing to do that to myself.
That's an interesting angle because most of the time, people's relationships with failure, not just from everybody that I've spoken to over the years, but that I've interviewed, is failure is generally a launch pad, a turning point. It's normally some sort of catalyst.
Mhm.
And your angle is more like a water off duck's back sort of idea of if anything, it's failure is more to you like a from how you're presenting it, it's more like a nudge in the right direction. It just causes you to, okay, I'm just gonna pivot a little bit to go, okay, this is where I got, okay, failure, okay, a little pivot, and you go that way. It's a very healthy relationship with failure. I gotta be honest. It's
I
great.
mean, I think it's frustrating. Like the feeling of it is frustrating because when you feel like, but I don't feel a brick wall. Like I don't feel brick walls when it comes to profession because I think of everything as practice and adventure. So, and I like change, and maybe I change too often and too soon, to be honest. Like maybe if I had stuck with something a little longer, maybe I could have succeeded in a way that I wanted to with something. But what I find is that if I haven't succeeded with a certain idea or program or career path or something, then often it kind of circles back around. It's almost like, I don't know, the men in my life, they circle back around. I think I learned a lot about.
Nice.
So, yeah, I think that if you just continue to act, although reflection is, you have to reflect first, but if you just continue to move, then you don't get kind of nabbed by it. It doesn't feel like anything permanent or negative.
That's really excellent. I love that. I think everybody needs to see that you can get to where you want to go without everybody having to be exactly the same. Like your point of you didn't feel success until you bought a house. A lot of
Mhm.
people, and rightfully so, can wrap up success or make a big package out of it, and the house may be a part of it, right? But that's just the proves the point of success is very personal, and I absolutely understand that. For me, uh, my absolute dream, the tip top of my life is to be a husband and a father, and then everything that entails with that, right? And then of course I have my business dreams and so on. But success to me was something very personal, and once I achieved it, it was very strange the effect that it has on how you live out your life from that point on. So I think that it's great that you said that you're a doctor and people can look at you and say, oh, for you success is probably writing these papers that get into gigantic what are those agencies
Girls,
and get
yeah.
recognized and all like all these things have a huge practice, but for you it's no I needed the house.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
and
amazing.
it was a feeling. I mean, success is a feeling. So, and I don't know, maybe some people are very good at constructing what that feeling will be based on something um like that they feel is winning, like publishing a paper. That's certainly I mean I've experienced publishing papers, and it's definitely celebrations for me. Some other people publish papers that win them, you know um big awards.
Yeah.
So I have not won a big award, but publishing papers, like that's something that the it happens, and then there's maybe springboards or good residual effects of that. So I do wonder, like, what is the success? Is it just the publication, like the accomplishment of making of the publication, or is it then I have the freedom to work anywhere I want, or then I get recognized by, and then you kind of continue to get the accolades, or is it just like the personal satisfaction? Because success is found in all of those places. It just depends on, like you said, the individual. So yes, yeah, success is something that's it is very personal. It's very emotional, I think, right? It's like an emotional feeling. Like your success is being a father and having kids, or be a husband and a father. So that's very personal as well.
Exactly. I think people should understand that they shouldn't look at somebody and see the life that they have and say, "Oh, that is success." Yes, seek after truth to the point that you understand what ultimate success is in your life. But when it comes to you, like you said, getting after that personal feeling of uh, success, it's going to be different for who you are.
Yeah, because for me, the feeling itself was contentment. That was the feeling of success. It was contentment. It was like, oh, I I'm used to constantly striving. And maybe if you, I don't even know if I would have answered somebody what's success to you prior to owning the house. I can't even say for sure that I would have said, oh, getting a house would be
Yeah,
success to me. I can't even say that. All I can say is that once I did prioritize that and kind of allow that to come to be, and that required a lot of personal change for me because I had to decide to like settle down and be still as opposed to seeking adventure, which had been really much of my identity. Laying down some of that free spiritedness and changing in order to allow that to come in. Uh, but I didn't anticipate that it would actually feel like, oh, this is the kind of stability that I need, that I didn't know, and that would give me the contentment. And now all the work, um, the work is just something that I enjoy and that I am compelled to do. It's so for me, it's just like living my life is the work, and there's certainly small achievements or large achievements sometimes you feel, but the achievements themselves for me are not the success, it's the feeling.
that is great. I think people should take that to mind that go on the adventure. And if you don't know what your personal success is or that thing that you're hunting after, go on the adventure and find it because you found it. You did it and it hit you, which is
Yeah.
awesome. It gives people hope that just because you don't see where it is right now, it's out there. So go looking for it. Make that jump. So before
Yeah.
we run out of our time,
Mhm.
for everyone that has now heard your story and that they see themselves in you, what is your advice to their success?
So I would say um, change along with yourself. Be willing to make the change to when there's a new version of yourself that comes along, embrace that version of yourself. Because it's these micro changes even um that's like the going with the flow or the following your nose or you're going with your gut or whatever, but and it's different for everybody. Like it could be, oh, a new job or thinking about yourself differently or even losing a job, right? Like all of these things can go into finding success. And so when things happen to you that are out of your control, especially because those can be the hard times, I think, uh, follow that, like live in that moment and see it as a valuable thing. And I don't mean like sit there, like, we all have to sit in a puddle for a period of time and feel the emotions of it, but then just get up and keep on going because that's how you'll remain true to yourself and not get lost in a version of you that no longer feels relevant or right for you.
Thank you so much, Doctor. That is really that's fantastic. Just being authentic with yourself, and I'm definitely getting the theme within your own life of uh, very fluid in terms of don't let hardships and failures be a brick wall. You can treat them as a brick wall, or you can just go with the flow of it and move in the direction you got to. And you are right. People do not like change. And you have been blessed with this ability to change is you're good with it. And a lot of people probably look at that and be very jealous of that, right? Very envious of that reality for you. But it's still something that you can adopt. You can start to be okay with this changing. And even like you said, uh, embrace that change. If you see this change in yourself, you can embrace that. You don't need to be fighting this whatever you want to call it, this version of yourself that is new. Just, love it. Don't um consider it evil. And if it's bringing harm to your life that you are acting a certain way, treat that as a movement to go in the right direction. So thank you for that advice. That is really, I think that is very helpful. Yeah, fall in love with some change. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Well,
Even small change can bring big rewards, around a corner or two.
that's great. Millie, I've definitely held on to you longer than I have everybody else. Your story and everything's been really awesome. So, thank you. And I look forward to your future success with your speaking and everything else, the adventure of your life. I absolutely love and look forward to that developing.
Thank you so much for your thoughtful comments and questions. I appreciate it, Max. It
Of
was great.
course, we'll have a fantastic night and we'll talk again later.
Bye.
Bye.